Hello everybody, and welcome. This is the qualifying session for the first ever British Grand Prix. It's hosted at the Sunderland Hill Circuit in Bedford. It should be a really exciting race. Lots of straights on this track, lots of high-speed corners, might really favour those with that speed advantage from the triple header upgrades week. But quickly we'll do a review of the drivers standing so far. If you haven't watched the previous races in this season, then spoilers ahead, you've been warned. Grandy leads the championship, 2 wins and 2nd place to his name, as well as a point in Saudi Arabia, puts him on 70 points out in the lead of the World Drivers' Championship. Caddo sits up in 2nd place after that win at his home circuit last time out, promotes him to 38 points. Let's keep all the AI on. And Abva sits in 3rd, one of the only drivers to score points in every single race so far this season. Grandy, of course, another. Sobel, yet another. Kubo was until last race. And Pit Crew, only down in 13th place in the championship, but he has managed points in every race thus far, yet to spend a token. In terms of the drivers' standings, Thunder X continue to lead. Kolos Tvorza find their place up in 2nd position. A fantastic start to UV Life for them. They find themselves just 1 point ahead of Team Velocity, who respectively 11 ahead of Neon Sunset. Looks like we're going to have some rainy conditions. This might put an end to the dry running of qualifying. You see the pits are halfway round the lap, so drivers will have had the chance to get complete their final full flying lap before coming into the pit lane. But we'll have to see how it stands. It might look like, for a 2nd race running, Not That Guy going to take pole position. That would be absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible for the Italian racer. Scored his first points in Le Castellet last time out at the Circuit Paul Ricard. He didn't quite manage to finish on the podium in that race. He did get the pole position. He might take another pole here today. That would be absolutely astonishing for him. Back-to-back fantastic races. Or so he'll hope. As it stands, Menica sits on the front row of the grid, and it's Season 3 BAV teammates. It's Jake Brad and Jurist, 3rd and 4th, Fox ahead of Kamikaze, Grandy, then Bluebell, Jaruni and Andrian is your top 10. It doesn't look like we'll get any more dry running in this session, so just as it was at Le Castellet, the sun is coming out too late, and it looks like the lap times will be locked in at the very end of this session. Not That Guy taking pole position by a monstrous 57 hundredths. Yeah, that makes sense. Over half a second, which is unbelievable. We're going to have one final sort of parade lap around as Jake just got to the line in time. He's our lead runner on the track, but not in the qualifying leaderboards. Really interesting that. So we'll take this opportunity just to look a little bit more at the constructors. You've got a very close grouping, 4th, 5th and 6th, then Superfast and Porsche tied for 7th and 8th positions. Fuerza Roja right ahead of Flying V Racing, 9th and 10th. As it stands, very, very interesting for a potential relegation battle. Because the bottom teams are just so close, but Flying V Racing currently not in a great position. The field a little bit spread out. It looks like some of the back runners had some pretty slow lap times in these particularly wet conditions. But here we go then, your grid for today's race. For the 2nd race running, the Italian driver for Flying V Racing, Not That Guy, is on pole position. Menica will start on the front row alongside him. Jake Brad starts in 3rd place ahead of Jurist. Fox and Kamikaze share the 3rd row. Grandy starts down in 7th position ahead of Bluebell. Jaruni and Andrin fill out the top 10 positions. Further down on the grid, Abva starts from 11th position ahead of Kubo on the 6th row. Caddo, our winner last time out, starts ahead of Apple Amazing. Rito and Sobel once again lock out the 8th row of the grid. Anti will start ahead of Pit Crew, who looks to continue his form of scoring points in every race so far this season, but he'll have a challenge on his hands from 18th position. Vladinator starts 19th ahead of Andres on the back row. Should be a really interesting one, this. The token spends 4 today. Jake spending 4 tokens, starts in 3rd position. Grandy spends 2 tokens and starts down in 7th only. Not great for him. and Thunder X, but it is interesting to see. We'll pull up the upgrades and overview in just a second. Hetmenica spends 3 tokens, starts second. Eurus spends 3 tokens, starts fourth. Not That Guy spends 3 tokens, starts on pole position. Fox spends 3 tokens, starts fifth. And Bluebell Boy spends 3 tokens, starts 8th. Kamikaze, tokenless, starts in 6th position. What a fantastic lap that has been from him. Some really curious stories here. So Jake has not won since the Season 3 race at Zamość. Grandi obviously won twice already this season. If he wins today, it would be his 7th victory in the last 19 races, which is a level of dominance that I think is even unparalleled by BAV over that sort of near 2-season period of time. Hetmenica looking to improve his standings. At the moment, we can just see he's only in 10th position. Points in Saudi Arabia, better points at Le Castellet, but he's not been on the podium since he won the European Grand Prix at Misano last season. Then we've got Eurus, who in the last 11 races has finished in last place as frequently as he's finished in the points, but his point scores have been top 4 finishes, so he's very on and off, but he's looking for a high result today. Not That Guy finished 4th last race, his first ever points in Ultimate Virtual. Fox hasn't scored any points so far this season. He hasn't actually scored points also since the European Grand Prix last season. Eurus' last podium was Mugello last season, as it turns out. And Bluebell looking for a 3rd consecutive, I believe it is, we can have a double check here, 3rd consecutive 3rd place finish for him, and a 4th consecutive 3rd place finish for Kola Stvorza, but he can just turn that into consecutive podiums if he takes 2nd or even 1st today. Final thing, we'll take a look at the team overview. Thunder X running away with it, 83 points, that's 32 ahead of their nearest competitor, and they spent 4 tokens fewer than Kola Stvorza. Points per token at 10.4, which is unparalleled in the grid. Fuerza Roja doing really well, actually, having only spent 3 tokens and not in last position. But this is a very speed-dependent track, so we might see the likes of Kola Stvorza, Team Velocity, Neon Sunset will struggle here, potentially Porsche, SFR as well, BFX not spending any tokens, I don't believe. But Fuerza Roja, you can see Kamikaze's 6th position tokenless. That has to be a result of the top speed built on that car, Not That Guy's pole position. Similarly, Fox in a very good 5th position, and Grandi slightly down on where he'd want to be, in all fairness, but it's still a very fast car that they managed to get up to level 3 speed incredibly well. That is all for now. Let's get right into the racing action. Here we go then. 44 laps ahead of us. It's a wet start here. We're underway. Not That Guy off pole position, gets a good launch. Hetmenica using a bit of turbo, gets a better launch. Can he get up the inside into turn 1? Doesn't look like it. Jake will actually benefit the most off that. He's going to slide up the outside, coming into the 4th turn, up through now the prongs of the circuit. Jake not quite able to get the lead yet, but he makes a really daring move around the outside and into the high speed section of the circuit, and Jake will go through, take the lead of the race. Can Eurus follow his old teammate through into there? He just muscles through on the inside, and Not That Guy and Fox up into the final chicane they go, and Eurus and Fox just forced wide. Eurus gets a penalty and all the drivers have to drive around and avoid him. Fox, Hetmenica and Not That Guy 3 wide as they come into what is officially the 2nd corner of the track. Fox at the inside of Het. They're fighting over 2nd position, just as Eurus and Not That Guy fell down to 5th and 6th as a result of that contact at the final corner. The Fuerza Rojas have had an amazing start. Well, Comi actually down a few positions, but Andrian right up there in 8th place. Bluebell in 7th still. Grandi's made his way up to 4th. Fox, a great start up to 3rd. Hetmenica up to 2nd position. Jake leads his home race, the British Grand Prix. Hetmenica goes 5/10 faster than him that last lap, though. He's definitely looking to close that gap down, take another race win, and really finally get his season kick-started after a pretty slow start that's only seen him take 16 points so far in the championship. Not That Guy ahead of Grandi. Eurus now, Andrian ahead of Kamikaze. They've both gone past Bluebell Boys under pressure from Adva, the other Fox car. Bluebell, a really great move down that slightly curved straight, the pit straight as it is, but funnily enough, not the start-finish straight. 2 separate things at this unique racing track. Jaruni down in 11th place, up amazing. Sobel's made up a couple of positions. Kubo and Vladinator's made his way up as well. Rito looks to get a triple overtake done if he possibly can. He's going to try and slide right round the outside at turn 2, but he takes a wide line, and Vlad in those wet conditions with the spray on his side gets a better exit through there, and another through the hairpin up at the 4th corner. He's still side by side with Kubo. Rito's fallen down. Sobel just ahead. This is a great fight from 18th all the way up to 13th. Vlad and Kubo flank Sobel, but will it be enough as they go into the very tight left-hander coming into the sort of chicane section at the pit exit? Sobel will hold on to 13th for now. Hetmenica has fallen back. He's once again under pressure from Fox, looking for his first points for his new team, as his teammate Abva has been doing outstandingly well in the Drivers' Championship so far this season. Fox runs in 3rd at the minute. Is he going to get down the inside of Hetmenica? Looks like he will. Track's drying out. Remember, the pit lane is halfway around the lap, or maybe more than that really. It's just as you enter the 3rd sector where the pit exits. So drivers have to factor that in for strategy and see how worth it will be to pit at certain points. Jake looking to absolutely fly away with this race if he can. He's not won in the last 20 odd races. It must be about 22, 23 races since he last took victory in that dominant BAV car at the Polish track. But he's come back this season. He got a what did he get? He got 2nd place in Monaco, of course, that's right, but Grandi absolutely gapping himself in Bluebell on that day. Speaking of Bluebell, prospects of a 4th consecutive podium for Kola Stvorza not looking great. He's down in 8th position at the moment. Fox is finally cleared of Hetmenica. Fox spending 3 tokens a day, Hetmenica, I believe, only spending 2. We'll have a look at the token spends. Jake spending 4, Grandi spending 2. No, Fox and Het both spending 3 as a Eurist, and not that guy and Bluebell. So the 3 token spend, a popular one so far this season, but we'll have to see, do people try something different, because there seems to be a big pack of those spending 3 tokens, and sometimes if they have a better car than yourself, then you need to face the facts that maybe the 4 token spend is the way to go to ensure a better result, even if it does mean fewer overall spends, or maybe even a 2 token spend, and try and exploit a little hole in the market by just sneaking into those final points positions, maybe taking 6th or 7th position, getting yourself a very solid little 3-4 points per token. Rain will decrease in intensity. We've been running in wet conditions for a long time. These wets are recommended to go 10 or so laps. A little bit more than that is permissible. Hetmenica fell down into 5th place. He's going to take 4th, back off Eurist. Fox up in 2nd. Now Grandi right on his tail. Literally, because he's a fox. Grandi started down in 7th position, so he's done well off the start here. Eurist fell back a couple of positions. He's fighting it out with old pal Hetmenica. Now can he get a move down the outside of this really curved pit straight? Winds his way through the final chicanes and up to the last couple corners, and he will get that move done. He will keep 4th place for the time being as they exit through what is quite a high-speed final chicane, in fact. So you need to just keep your wits about you and not make a mistake like Andrew in there, which puts him right in the clutches of the Bluebell boy. Fox holds on to 2nd for the moment, ahead of Grandi. Meanwhile, Eurus and Het still fight it out. Who's going to emerge at the end of this lap in 3rd position? Het trying a really daring move to the outside. Eurus shows him a bit of grass. Het shows himself a bit of grass at the final corner. He will finish the lap in 4th place. And not that guy will come through. And Abva has pitted for the intermediate tyre. As the track is drying out, there's no more rain falling. No rain expected for the time being. Oh, and now there is. Okay, really interesting. So you definitely say that it's short-term gain that he'll get here, and I'd expect a lot into the pit lane for a set of wets, actually. Now that there's been more heavy rain announced, there's a bit more insurance, but maybe the Inter isn't the wrong call necessarily. One weather change can often lead to a string of weather changes, so maybe it'll be dry conditions coming back. Maybe the Inters will be the right tyre choice. Apple Amazing is into the pit lane ahead of him. Sobel also in. None of the front runners deciding to blink apart from Eurist, who sunk himself down to 7th position. He was done with that fight with Hetmenica and just looking to make up the time on a brand spanking new set of fresh wet weather tyres. And if all the others have to come in, which it looks like Het will do now, and we'll just keep an eye on where Eurus comes out relative to him, because Bluebell's in, Eurus flies down the pit straight. Will Hetmenica be out ahead of Eurus? Yes, he will. Still ahead of Eurus. So Eurus maybe not having the best outlap there, but now the clouds are coming back, and that's the reason that Inters can be the right tyre in this condition. Kamikaze and Andrian, fascinatingly, because if you look at this, they're not spending any tokens whatsoever, but the Circuit Paul Ricard last Wednesday, they didn't spend any tokens. They finished in the final 2 positions. A terrible, terrible race for them. They really are sort of a Haas or a Williams of their time, or an AlphaTauri, because they're not a great car. They do have their moments, Comi winning the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, but it's so abundantly clear that at really grip-heavy tracks they perform so poorly, like Le Castellet, and yet at really speed-heavy tracks, you know, they've gone from running reverse 1-2, essentially running in the final 2 positions, to both running in the points, and Kamikaze will continue to run into the points as he comes into the pit lane. Fox is the final driver to pit. He does go for the Inters, which is interesting. At this point, they're judging that it's not worth waiting the rain out in case more is announced to be coming back. I think that's a fair judgment, and you can see Eurus and Het did catch Fox briefly, which is an almighty effort, because Fox was a good 4 or 5 seconds up the road, but Fox is going to look to absolutely trollop away on these next couple laps on the intermediate tyre, which is also a more flexible tyre in full dry conditions. So if there is if he does need a half a lap of dry running before he gets back to the lane, then that's manageable for him, whereas for the wet runners, they'll be immediately boiling the tyres and having to come in for a quick change. Grandy still runs in second. Eurus and Het battle through the final chicane. Eurus wide at the last corner. That allows Het to go through into 4th position. Fox just lapping the back markers now. 17th and 18th. Kubo and Andrews fighting over that position. The sun's coming out. It looks like we'll finally have the end to the British summer weather here in mid to late August. We can finally have a bit of sunshine as we head as we are on lap 16 by the race leader's standard, although Fox has actually stayed out on the Inters. This will only be a gamble really worth it if the rain does come back very, very soon. But he does set the fastest lap. I suppose that's right, because this is the first actual lap with dry running. So even though he is on Inters on a dry track, it will definitely be the fastest lap. You can see the full pit time is enclosed in that previous lap, so the pit stop doesn't affect your lap both ways. And yeah, that gamble from Fox staying out 1 lap extra just didn't seem to quite come off. He did lead at the end of lap 16, but Jake will thoroughly retake that, and doesn't look like there'll be many that can stop him. It's interesting strategy to go for the 4 token spend. He does have an absolute death grip on the race lead at the moment, looking for Neon Sunset Racing's first victory. He scored the team's first podium in Monaco a couple of races ago, but he's looking for their first outright win, and that would be a big moment for them. Kubo yet to get a podium. He looked promising in Monaco, but despite the 3 token spend, just never really had something that came off. Jake goes out and sets the fastest lap of the race on those brand new soft compound tyres. Fox in 3rd position, fallen back from that fight over 2nd, but he's looking to catch up to Grandy. He's gone for a different strategy, which is interesting. He doesn't back his direct pace to catch, but the Fox car at the moment, and I'll pull up the overview, in fact, it's actually really not a terrible car. The Thunder X 4.0, 3.9 for BFX, clearly the fastest 2. Porsche, funnily enough, with a car that their performances so far have not matched, 3.4 index score. But then right behind Fox, 3.2 are the 4th fastest car, and they're ahead of Velocity and FVR, who are tied on 3.0, Neon Sunset Racing on 2.9, and then of course the 3 back teams, Kola Stvorza 2.6, 2.4 for Super Fast Racing as they're known currently, and Fuerza Roja 2.2. So, interesting. Jake continues to lead. Fox continues to ride in 2nd place. He's actually now overtaken for 2nd place. That's my mistake. Grandy was running up there. Fox has taken that position valiantly off him. Grandy looking at an outside line to the final couple of corners. Can he make the move here with the superior grip on the softs? Yes, he can. Just threaded the needle outside that very high speed final chicane. He's done really well there. That's a phenomenal move. Jake, though, absolutely dominant out front, just as Grandy was in Monaco. We had a much closer fight for the lead at this stage in the race last time out, but it looks like the 4 token spin is really what seems to be working. Great fight for second, though. Grandy back through on Fox for the time being, but for how much longer? Meneka on a different strategy. We've got the soft, the medium, and the hard, all employed by the 3 drivers who are looking currently likely for the podium. Don't count out Urist or Not That Guy. Bluebell Boy has fallen back a little bit, though. It looks like the Coolest Forza has finally run out of luck on what is not a very grip-dependent circuit. And that car is very well suited to the chassis stats. They, I think, if I'm correct, have 4 grip, 3 acceleration, 2 speed, or something along those lines. Yeah, that's right. So they're very good, and that explains the grip performances at a really high downforce track like Monaco, and at a really high grip track like the Castellet. But obviously, at a much more flat-out high-speed track, you're going to see the Fox car, the Thunder X, and the 2 other cars with level 4 speed. That's level 3 speed, pardon. Yeah, the Fuerza Roja and the FBR just perform better overall, and that's an interesting thing. The Fuerza is particularly doing quite well. Grandy was in the lead of the race. Jake must have pitted. He does go back through now, and Grandy down into second position, slightly blocked off by Kamikaze. He's down now into 5th as Urist and Meneka both go through. Clouds announced on the way. Grandy will be hoping for a good 7 or 8 laps before that rain does come, as he just laps Rito again, and this is really surprising. Pull up the standings quickly. Rito currently 18th in the standings, not scoring points since the opening round in Adelaide, where he only managed 5th position with a 2 token spend. He's obviously not really spent tokens since then. You can see that he's still got 8 left this season, so he will have likely a late resurgence, but a really slow start to the defending champion. And he's just been seen a lap down in a lot of these races. Grandy, meanwhile, has gotten past Meneka, the man who he fought oh so hard for the title last season. 2nd and 3rd they came in the end, before Rito swooped in with the final race win, the 25 points that he exactly needed to take that title. Fox and Jake have had a collision. They've both gone off at the 6th corner of this track, and they're both into the pit lane. Looks like that news about the rain must have startled them. Or Fox maybe just trying to hang it out as long as he possibly could on those old tyres. It has worked, in fact, so he's really close right up to the back of Jake, but now heavy wet conditions, and Jake actually gambling for the full wet tyre. Looks to have absolutely called that one right. Fox might have the speed advantage in the early stages of the rain, but if it continues to lash it down, then it'll play right back into the hands of the Brit. Grandy, despite being pretty screwed over by that rain, having only pitted a few laps previously, already back up into 3rd position. Such is the speed of that car, and now it's going to play back into the hands of the Interrunners, because the dry conditions are coming back. The rain will go away, and the standing water will soon be all but to English. Will all be gone soon. Jake running on the wet, still looking to make the most of it in these full wet conditions at the moment, but Fox is closing in. This could be a historic first win. Neither of these teams, which are both brand new entries for this season, Neon Sunset Racing purchasing out British Aerial Virtual, just as they did, of course, for British Aerial Racing. They're real life counterparts, and therefore from the late season break onwards, from the Lithuanian Grand Prix, will be known as Neon Sunset Virtual to avoid conflicts with the real life counterparts. That's really interesting. Jake leads Fox, then Grandy. Urist right behind Grandy. He's done well to stick with him, in fact, because Grandy had a lot of pace in the early stages of this race, but that one corner where you just have that big swooping wide U-shape, you can really just drive the outside line, try and get those front tyres to stick to the track, and exploit the extra speed that you're able to carry through the corner. You're just absolutely flying away from the Finn, who Grandy spending his final tokens today, and we'll see that here indeed. He'll have none left after today, nor will Bluebell Boy. Hetmanica down to only 3 as well. Jake down to only 3. And Caddo already down to only 3. So these are drivers running low on tokens. And Het really not having made the start that he would have wanted to the season, based off the fact that after this race he'll have just 3 tokens left to spend. Grandy into the pit lane now. There goes Het, just diving in next to him. Grandy opts for the hard compound tyre. Is he gonna? He's not gonna be able to take that to the end. I mean, even the hards on this track only last 9 laps. You'd think that with the low amounts of grip actually needed, it would probably be less. It would probably be longer. You could extend the stints a bit more, but drivers, I think, aren't really willing to take the risk, especially at a lot of high-speed corners, which can really screw up your tyres if you're not careful. Jay goes through. Abford just deployed out of that pit lane to try and slow him up, but the hards aren't going to do too much in his favour there. He can't quite back him up into his second place teammate at the moment. Fox now under pressure from Eurus, who's had a real resurgence of pace late in this race. He went from battling with Hetmanica over 4th and 5th, getting to Grandy, who sunk down to 4th, getting past him up into 3rd, getting past Fox now up into 2nd position. The Team Velocity team, which won their 10th race last race, have done really well with that, and obviously from next race onwards, the Spanish Grand Prix will run a brand new 10-star livery, celebrating their feat of becoming the first ever team in Ultimate Virtual to reach 10 race wins. Really impressive job from them. They're looking for another podium here, seeing if Eurus can just back up the achievements of Caddo from last race and get off the board. Oh, he's been held up by Andrews pretty badly there. In fact, Andrews is sort of skating sideways to not let Eurus past. It's difficult. It's difficult in that corner as well. Very easy to make a mistake. Grandy looking to increase his overall win tally to 9, which would be 1 behind all of Team Velocity, but also only 9 for Thunder X, as his teammates X610 in the first season at Pit Crew ever since have never won an Ultimate Virtual Grand Prix, which is interesting. Just very different token plans. The token plan of a second driver as opposed to the token plan of a first driver, and you'd wonder if that hurts the team. I mean, albeit, you know, it's good to have Pit Crew down, scoring the minor points and backing up Grandy, and then taking his moments to shine when Grandy isn't there. But it's, you know, they have the best car relative to the field that they've had for a while this season. This, I think, is the golden era for Grandy to be able to spend tokens, and it's really been showing that from the fact that he got 1st and 2nd in the last 2 races, because there's no guarantee that after this triple header upgrade period that Thunder X will continue to be the fastest car, or even continue to be that sort of leap ahead of the rest that they still are. So Grandy's really making the most of it now, and you worry that Pit Crew, even with all the tokens that he has left in hand, and even with the 13, 14 points that he has on the board already from those tokenless races, if he might just be coming in to spend those tokens at the wrong time when the team won't be in the best position. He's never finished higher than 3rd in Ultimate Virtual ever. Jake continues to lead. Not had too much strategy here. It's been mainly wiped away by the rain, but he is on softs that are pretty aged now, and he's going to be coming into the pit lane on this 35th lap of procedures. Fox will go through to take the lead. Abva and Vlad causing a couple of issues for him down there. Jake will take that pretty long pit exit road that just feeds out nearly onto the racing line at the exit of that sort of 90-degree or slightly more open than that left-hander at the end of the pit, straight leading down into the chicane section at the bottom of the circuit, which is the only bit where you really need to keep your wits about you and stick to your racing line, not stray too far off track, because most of these corners are very forgiving with their runoff and with their open exits. But as it stands, Fox leads the British Grand Prix, Eurus runs in 2nd, and I don't think any of these drivers have a different enough strategy to Jake to be able to pull off something magical here, apart from maybe Grandy, who can do the opposite of what happened earlier and maybe save a pit stop with rain if it comes at the right point for him on the hard compound tyres. Very little to lose with the championship lead that he has at the moment. He's just trying to rack up as many points as he can. Bluebell recovered up to 5th. He was down in 8th earlier. Menica in 6th. Not that guy has fallen down to 7th position, unfortunately for him. And Abtha, who I believe is tokenless today, is he? Yes, performing really, really well for a tokenless driver. 22 seconds behind Not That Guy, who is coming up to not be that far off lapping him. Andrew running in 9th, Sobel running in 10th, Kamikaze and Jiruni, yeah, that's 11th, and well, it's actually a fight over 10th and 11th between Jiruni and Sobel. Jiruni goes through into 10th now as Sobel goes into pit lane. Fight over the podium, it's Jake, it's Eurus, and it's Grandy. Jake's gotten his way back through. Eurus is in to the pit lane. Fox has still yet to pit. Grandy has a chance here, but even then, he's actually now been repassed by Jake, who's already pitted for those mediums for that final stint, so it's not really that much of a chance. He's not going to be any better off trying to stick it out and wait on these hard compound tyres if they're not giving him the grip and the purchase that he needs in this late stage of the race, especially. It's such a speed dependent track. It's a really difficult sell to go for the hards as a main strategy, and that's why he's going to be coming in, go for one final burst, maybe trying to get the fastest lap of the race here right at the end, with 5 laps to go once he finishes this one. Eurus will go through and retake that podium position, but not for much longer. Bluebell, Hetmanica and Not That Guy were all into the pit lane. In fact, this could be a really interesting fight over 5th positions. They are now a considerable amount behind Grandy, but Jake now having played a strategy very, very nicely and just been very cool, calm, collected out in the lead of the race. The 4 token spend really doing him well here to guarantee that race victory. Fox in 2nd place at the moment. There was close ties previously before Fox was signed to WTEC last season, took over and made it his own team this season with a brand new Fox Overseer experience. There's very much rumours that Fox will be coming in instead of Jiruni at the end of Season 3. The condition that Goose gave for that was that if Jiruni won the Brazilian Grand Prix, the tokenless finale, in Season 3, then Jiruni would get to keep his seat at FVR. Jiruni did just that, and Goose, a man of his word, kept the Belarusian around, who's taken more podiums for the team since and has enjoyed life in that car. He's had ups and downs. He's got a few podiums last season. It's probably the most enjoyable moment since the end of Season 3 was that final race of the season. It was a front row lockout for FVR, which is a high point in a team that is normally what you'd call a dictionary definition of mediocrity in UV. But front row lockout, Jiruni stuck up in those high positions, and he managed to come across the line 2nd place at the end, so close to a race win, which would have handed the championship to Grandy. But Rita won out that race in the end and took the title by a single point. What a magical season that was, and what a fantastic ending it was too. Fox running in 2nd. It looks like Grandy might be too far back to catch him at this point. He did get past Eurus. Eurus is not going to be on the podium this race. As we look at the driver's standings, Eurus currently down in 16th position. He's not been on the podium since Mugello last season, so that's not going to change here today. Bluebell a good chunk off, but he's still fighting Not That Guy as Jake coming through now, the final lap of the race, lap 44 of 44 here at Sunderland Hill. It's actually now closing in a little bit. I think Jake is stretching those mediums beyond what he'd really want to stretch them. You can see Fox just coming into picture there, but I think that 3-second gap is somewhat insurmountable unless teammate Kubo provides him too many issues through this final sector. He goes through side by side with him, and on what has been a bit of a Sunday stroll for the man who is looking to get his season really going here. Jake wins the British Grand Prix. Fox will come home in 2nd place, take his first podium since Adelaide last season, and Grandy 3 podiums in a row for him, just ahead of Eurus. He'll take another 4th position. Not That Guy and Bluebell Boy and Hetmanica will all fight over this 5th position. It looks like our pole sitter might get it. Bluebell up the inside. Has he gone deep? No, he's forced Not That Guy off, and Bluebell will take 5th. Not 4 podiums in a row for Kola Swartzer, but solid points still. Not That Guy will take 6th position, adding another 8 points to his tally for the season. Hetmanica will take only 7th position with 3 tokens. A really, really depressing start to the season for Porsche, who on paper have such a good car. But Abva looking really, really strong here, and taken on the pit crew responsibility really. for pit crews. Failed to do so this race. It's tokenless for Abva. It's P8 for Abva as he gets a cluster of lapped cars to accompany him across the line. What a fantastic result for him. Andrin will take points for Fuerza Roja, points that they desperately need. Jake win with the fastest lap. A common trend so far this season, wins the British Grand Prix at the Sunderland Hill circuit that he chose as a celebration of the Constructors' Champion return to the sport. Fox second ahead of Grandy, and third Eurus Bluebell Boy and Not That Guy. Menica, then Abva, Andrian and Girouni took that final point off Sobel, just a couple tenths in it in the end. Double points for FVR. Sobel will take 11th place, Pit Crew 12th, Kamikaze 13th, Rito 14th, which will make it one of the very rare races, I believe 3 or 4 in the history of the competition, where BFX failed to score points, despite them having a really good car at the moment. It just isn't speed heavy enough, and that's where they've lacked on this track. 0 points for the Fijian team as their sister team stretches the gap further and further ahead of them. Pit Crew takes his first race without points. Abva, though, will continue his point scoring record, and Sobel also loses that point scoring trend, meaning that Grandy and Abva, the Finn and the Russian, the only 2 drivers remaining who have scored points in every single race so far this season. Kamikaze finishes 13th, a great day for Fuerza Roja, 9th and 13th. They'll take home those 2 points gladly. Rita 14th, Vlad Nater, then Andres, Apple Amazing, then Kubo, Anti, and our race winner last time out, Caddo, last place for Team Velocity. That's all here today for the British Grand Prix. We'll see you next week in Valencia, the track returning. It was originally an emergency addition to the Season 4 calendar. It is now staying full-time on the calendar for UV after being voted to be brought back by team owners. We'll see you there. But until then, bye-bye.